The story of Johnny Depp doesn't begin on a Hollywood red carpet or inside a studio filled with cameras and lights. It begins in Owensboro, Kentucky. In the summer of 1963, a little boy was born into a working-class family, far from the glamour of fame. His father, John Christopher Depp, worked as a civil engineer, while his mother, Betty Sue, juggled odd jobs to keep the family afloat. Life was not easy, and money was never enough. But what shaped Johnny the most wasn't poverty. It was the turbulence inside his own home. As a child, Johnny often found himself escaping into his imagination. The chaos of constant fights between his parents carved a deep scar in his young heart. At just 15 years old, when his parents divorced, Johnny's world cracked. He later described those years as painful, filled with instability, and marked by loneliness. Moving from place to place, city to city, he never felt rooted. For a boy searching for meaning, the guitar became his refuge. One night, in his small room, young Johnny picked up a guitar given to him by his mother. He strummed it, not knowing that those strings would become his first lifeline. He poured every ounce of his hurt and confusion into music. He dreamed of becoming a rock star, not an actor. Music, he once said, was my escape, my way to deal with the madness. At 16, he dropped out of school. His teachers told him it was a mistake, but Johnny felt classrooms couldn't contain his restless spirit. Instead, he joined garage bands, hustling his way through small gigs, barely surviving, but loving the raw freedom of the stage. His band, The Kids, found local success in Florida, even opening for acts like Talking Heads and The Pretenders. For Johnny, this was it, the path, the calling. But destiny, as it often does, had other plans. In his early 20s, broke and struggling, he moved to Los Angeles. Music wasn't paying the bills. Nights were spent crashing at friends' couches, days filled with uncertainty. And then, a chance encounter changed everything. A young actor named Nicolas Cage told Johnny, "Man, you should try acting. You've got the look. You've got something." Johnny shrugged. At first he wanted music, not movies. But Cage insisted, planting a seed that would grow into one of Hollywood's most iconic careers. That was the first turning point in the extraordinary life of Johnny Depp, the reluctant actor. In Los Angeles, survival was the only dream Johnny Depp could afford. His band was scraping by, chasing the impossible dream of rock and roll stardom. But the nights were long, the money was short, and the hunger for stability kept gnawing at him. It was during these uncertain years that fate, disguised as Nicolas Cage, whispered an unexpected direction into Johnny's life. Cage introduced him to his agent, who convinced Johnny to audition for small film roles. Depp wasn't convinced. Acting, that wasn't his world. But desperation has a way of breaking down resistance. In 1984, Johnny nervously walked into an audition that would unknowingly mark the beginning of his new life. The movie was A Nightmare on Elm Street. Depp played Glenn Lance, the innocent boyfriend who meets a terrifying fate at the hands of Freddy Krueger. The role was small, but the impact was enormous. The film exploded into a cultural phenomenon, and suddenly, Johnny's face was on movie screens across America. But the truth? Johnny didn't feel like an actor. He felt like a musician accidentally stuck in front of a camera. For years, he wandered between minor roles, unsure of who he was in this new world. Casting directors loved his looks, his charm, his mystery. But Johnny didn't want to be another heartthrob. He wanted meaning. He wanted characters that lived and breathed beyond the surface. That's when television came calling. In 1987, he landed the role that would change his life. Officer Tom Hansen on the TV series 21 Jump Street. Overnight, Johnny became a teen idol. Posters with his face were plastered on bedroom walls. Fans screamed his name. Hollywood was calling him the next big star. And yet, behind the curtain, Johnny felt trapped. He once admitted, "I felt like I was in a machine, a product being sold, not an actor discovering his craft." The fame was overwhelming, the pressure suffocating. Every episode made him more recognizable, but less himself. But something inside Johnny was shifting. He realized that if he didn't take control of his path, Hollywood would define him forever. And Johnny Depp was never the kind of soul to be boxed in. So he began searching for roles that would break him free, roles that were risky, odd, and unapologetically unique. This decision, this hunger to reinvent himself, was about to push Johnny Depp from television stardom into the world of cinema legend. The outsider who became iconic. After the whirlwind of 21 Jump Street, Johnny Depp faced a crossroads that would define his career. He was a recognized face, adored by fans, but trapped in the mold of teen idol. Deep down, he knew that following the conventional path meant sacrificing the very thing that made him unique: his soul, his curiosity, his love for the strange and extraordinary. In the early 1990s, Johnny made a choice that shocked many. He walked away from steady fame to chase challenging, unconventional roles. He collaborated with visionary director Tim Burton, who saw in Johnny not just an actor, but a living canvas of emotion and eccentricity. Their first film together, Edward Scissorhands, introduced the world to a character both haunting and deeply human. A man sculpted from isolation, longing, and gentle innocence. "Edward felt like me," Johnny once said. "He was misunderstood, alone, and yearning for connection. I understood him because I've always been a bit of an outsider." That performance didn't just mark a turning point, it announced a new kind of actor to Hollywood, one willing to risk commercial success for authenticity. Following Edward Scissorhands, Depp's career became a tapestry of fearless choices. He took on the tragic, the twisted, the enigmatic. From Benny and June, where he explored vulnerability and whimsy, to Donnie Brasco, where he delved into moral ambiguity and the dark corners of human nature. Johnny was building a repertoire that demanded respect. He wasn't chasing fame anymore. He was chasing art. But this path wasn't easy. Many of his choices puzzled critics and audiences. Movies flopped, financial strain followed, personal struggles intensified. Yet, Johnny embraced the uncertainty, believing that every setback was part of a larger journey toward mastery. Failure doesn't define you, he reflected. It teaches you, sharpens you, makes you fearless. In parallel, his personal life remained deeply human. He loved intensely, made mistakes, experienced heartbreak, and carried the weight of his own vulnerabilities. But these very struggles enriched his performances, giving depth to every character he inhabited. Audiences didn't just see Johnny Depp on screen, they felt him, because his characters were extensions of his own humanity. By the mid-1990s, Johnny Depp was no longer a teen idol or a Hollywood commodity. He had become an icon of individuality, a symbol that courage in choice is not comfort in conformity defines greatness. And with each new role, he reminded the world to be extraordinary, you must first dare to be different. The captain who conquered the world. By the early 2000s, decades, Johnny Depp had carved a name as Hollywood's fearless chameleon. Yet true global superstardom still awaited him. And then came the role that would change everything: Captain Jack Sparrow. When director Gore Verbinski offered him the part in Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, many questioned Depp's choice. The character was eccentric, unpredictable, even risky. But Johnny saw something in Jack Sparrow that resonated deeply. A misfit navigating a chaotic world, surviving with wit, charm, and audacity. Johnny approached the role like an artist sculpting a legend. He studied pirates in history, but more importantly, he infused Jack with quirks, a staggering swagger, and a moral compass that was delightfully ambiguous. The performance was electric, unpredictable, unforgettable. Audiences laughed, cheered, and fell in love instantly. Jack Sparrow wasn't just a character, he became a cultural phenomenon. The film was a massive success, catapulting Johnny into the stratosphere of global fame. He won accolades, nominations, and the adoration of millions. Yet, amidst the glittering red carpets and roaring applause, Johnny remained grounded. He continued choosing roles that challenged him, from Finding Neverland, exploring imagination and grief, to Sweeney Todd, where he transformed into a darkly poetic killer, earning his first Golden Globe. Behind the scenes, life was far from simple. Fame brought scrutiny, personal trials, and pressures that could crush the strongest souls. Relationships faltered, health wavered, and the media painted exaggerated tales of chaos. But Johnny's resilience became a defining feature. He transformed setbacks into lessons, pain into performance, and criticism into fuel for reinvention. He also became a pioneer of sorts, redefining what it meant to be a Hollywood star in the modern era. His courage to embrace unconventional characters inspired countless actors to take risks, to reject formulaic roles, and to follow their unique instincts. He reminded the world that acting isn't about safety, it's about truth, passion, and fearless self-expression. As the years passed, Johnny Depp's influence extended beyond films. He became a symbol of creativity unbound, individuality celebrated, and artistry uncompromised. Yet, despite worldwide fame and legendary status, he never lost sight of what mattered most: authenticity. For Johnny, every role, every choice, every risk was a step toward living fully unafraid, unfiltered, and unapologetically himself. And through it all, the journey of Johnny Depp continues to teach us one enduring truth: greatness is never given. It's carved, sculpted, and lived with courage. The man behind the mask, behind the dazzling lights, roaring crowds, and cinematic triumphs, Johnny Depp carried a life that was far from scripted. Fame, as intoxicating as it was, brought shadows, struggles that tested not only his career, but the very core of his being. Relationships, heartbreaks, and personal demons often collided with his public image, creating a tension that only deepened the legend of Johnny Depp the man. Even at the height of superstardom, Johnny remained fiercely private, almost elusive. Those close to him describe a man of immense sensitivity and depth, someone who feels everything intensely. Friends spoke of his loyalty, his humor, and a generosity that often went unnoticed in the glare of tabloid headlines. Yet, he also battled turbulence, loss, betrayals, and the pressures of living a life under constant scrutiny. He once said, "I'm trying to live my life in the moment, but sometimes the world doesn't let you." The world saw Jack Sparrow, Edward Scissorhands, and the other characters he brought to life. But Johnny's humanity, the raw, vulnerable, and sometimes fragile side remained largely hidden. His love for family, his devotion to his children, and his fierce loyalty to friends painted a portrait of a man who, despite chaos, sought connection and meaning. Music remained a lifelong refuge, an anchor when storms threatened to pull him under. Financial battles, legal disputes, and tabloid storms tested his resilience. Many could have crumbled under the weight, yet Johnny transformed adversity into art, channeling pain into performance and emotion into authenticity. His struggle became an unspoken lesson that even those who seem larger than life face battles, yet courage is shown in enduring, not in the absence of fear. Johnny Depp's life reminds us that behind every extraordinary public persona is a human being, filled with contradictions, dreams, heartbreak, and hope. He lives proof that fame and talent cannot shield you from life's trials, but they can amplify the courage it takes to face them. And through it all, Johnny teaches a universal truth. It is not the accolades or applause that define a life. It's the way you navigate the storms, remain true to yourself, and dare to live authentically, even when the world watches every move. In a life of cinematic brilliance and real-world complexity, Johnny Depp embodies the timeless lesson that being human is the greatest story ever told. Lessons from a life unscripted. Johnny Depp's journey is not just a story of fame, fortune, or iconic roles. It is a story of resilience, authenticity, and the courage to follow your own path, no matter how unconventional it may be. From a turbulent childhood in Kentucky to standing on the world's biggest stages, Johnny's life offers lessons that go far beyond Hollywood. One of the most powerful lessons is the value of individuality. Johnny never conformed to the expectations of fame, critics, or even audiences. He refused to be boxed in as a teen idol or a formulaic star. Instead, he sought roles that challenged him, that made him uncomfortable, that required risk. In doing so, he teaches us that true fulfillment comes not from approval, but from being honest to your own passions and instincts. Another lesson lies in perseverance. Johnny faced failures, flops, and moments where the world doubted him. Yet, he never allowed setbacks to define him. Every misstep became a stepping stone. Every rejection a redirection toward growth. His story reminds us that life's hurdles are not walls, they are opportunities to discover strength we didn't know we had. Embracing vulnerability is another thread woven through Johnny's life. Despite immense fame, he allowed himself to be human, to love, to hurt, to stumble, and to rise again. His willingness to show the world his imperfections is what made his performances so powerful and his life so relatable. He demonstrates that authenticity, though risky, is infinitely more valuable than perfection. Johnny also shows the importance of reinvention. Few actors have navigated Hollywood with such fearless creativity, moving from horror to fantasy, drama to adventure, comedy to darkness, always refusing to be predictable. Life, like art, rewards those who dare to evolve, who refuse to settle into comfort zones. And perhaps most importantly, Johnny Depp teaches that passion is the compass of life. Music, acting, creating, it was never about money or status. It was about living fully, feeling deeply, and daring to explore the extraordinary within the ordinary. For all of us, Johnny's journey is a beacon. Chase your dreams relentlessly. Embrace your uniqueness. Find strength in adversity, and never be afraid to live authentically. In the life of a man who became an icon not by following the rules, but by breaking them. We find an enduring inspiration that greatness is not given, it is earned, crafted, and lived every single day. The eternal rebel, even as the world knew Johnny Depp as a cinematic legend, the man himself never stopped being a rebel, not in the destructive sense, but in the way he chose to live life on his own terms. Hollywood thrives on predictability, on neat stories and repeatable formulas. But Johnny's story has always been a refusal to fit into a box. That refusal, his relentless individuality, has been both his challenge and his triumph. Through decades of career highs and personal lows, Johnny has shown that being true to oneself comes with risks. He has faced criticism for unconventional choices, for speaking out, for living authentically. Yet he never surrendered to the pressures of conformity. From Jack Sparrow's staggering swagger to Edward Scissorhands' delicate melancholy, every role was a reflection of a life lived courageously, a testament to creativity over comfort. Behind the camera, Johnny remains deeply human. Friends and collaborators describe a man who loves with his heart, who listens more than he speaks, who loves deeply and unconditionally. He is loyal, fiercely protective of those he cares about, and endlessly generous. Yet, as with any human, life has tested him. Loss, public scrutiny, and personal battles have forced him to confront his own vulnerabilities, and he has faced them head-on. Learning that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the will to keep moving forward despite it. Johnny's rebellion isn't loud. It's quiet, subtle, and profound. It's the courage to be different, the bravery to embrace flaws, and the wisdom to understand that the path to greatness is rarely straight. It's in the risks he took, the choices he made, and the art he created that will outlive him. He once said, "I think the thing to do is enjoy the ride while you're on it." That philosophy embodies everything about Johnny Depp, a life unchained from expectation, filled with passion, exploration, and authenticity. The eternal rebel teaches us that life isn't about following the map, it's about drawing your own. Even if the road is winding, uncertain, and full of obstacles. In every film, every performance, every personal triumph and setback, Johnny Depp reminds the world that individuality, courage, and creativity are not just ideals, they are lifelines. And for all who have watched his journey, he leaves a simple yet profound message. Dare to be yourself, even when the world demands you to be anything else. A legacy carved in stardust. Johnny Depp's journey is more than a collection of films or awards. It is a legacy built on audacity, imagination, and the courage to embrace the unknown. Few actors have managed to leave a mark so indelible that every role feels like a fingerprint of the artist himself. Johnny didn't just perform, he transformed every character into a living, breathing reflection of his soul. From Edward Scissorhands to Pirates of the Caribbean, from the tragic poetry of Finding Neverland to the eerie darkness of Sweeney Todd, Johnny has continuously challenged the boundaries of storytelling. Each performance is a reminder that art isn't just about entertainment, it's about connection, emotion, and truth. Audiences don't just watch Johnny Depp, they feel him. Because he gives pieces of himself to every role, unafraid to show vulnerability, chaos, or beauty. But his legacy extends beyond the silver screen. He has inspired generations of actors to pursue authenticity over comfort, to risk failure in the pursuit of something meaningful. He has shown that fame is not the ultimate goal. Creativity, honesty, and relentless curiosity are the true treasures. Directors, co-stars, and fans alike recognize that Johnny is more than talent. He is a living testament to what happens when someone refuses to compromise their vision. Yet, even as his films garnered worldwide acclaim, Johnny's human story, the laughter, heartbreak, and resilience added layers to his legend. People see Jack Sparrow's cunning or Edward Scissorhands' fragility, but they also see a man who has endured, survived, and remained true to himself. That duality, larger than life and profoundly human, is what makes his legacy timeless. Johnny Depp's life teaches that impact is measured not just by achievements, but by the courage to be different, the willingness to face adversity, and the dedication to leaving the world a little richer through your craft. His story is a beacon for dreamers, outsiders, and anyone who has ever felt misunderstood. It reminds us that the path to greatness is rarely easy, but it is always worth walking if you walk it with authenticity, passion, and heart. As we look back at the journey of Johnny Depp, we see more than a star. We see a force of creativity, individuality, and courage that will inspire generations long after the credits roll. His legacy is not just in the films he made, but in the lives he touched, the hearts he stirred, and the audacity he modeled. For anyone brave enough to follow their own extraordinary path, the compass of courage, Johnny Depp's life is a masterclass in courage, not the flashy heroics of cinema, but the quiet, unyielding bravery of a man committed to living authentically. From a turbulent childhood to global superstardom, Johnny's story reminds us that success is not measured by fame or fortune, but by the courage to be yourself in a world that constantly demands conformity. One of the most enduring lessons from Johnny's journey is the power of individuality. He never sought to fit neatly into Hollywood's box. He embraced eccentricity, took risks, and trusted his instincts. Even when critics or audiences doubted him, roles like Edward Scissorhands, Captain Jack Sparrow, and Sweeney Todd weren't just performances, they were declarations of freedom. Johnny teaches us that your uniqueness is your greatest asset. When you honor it, the world can't ignore you. Another lesson lies in resilience. Johnny faced personal battles that would have broken most people's relationship, struggles, public scrutiny, financial disputes, but he never allowed them to define his life. He turned setbacks into fuel, challenges into art, and criticism into motivation. Life, he demonstrates, is less about avoiding failure and more about refusing to surrender to it. Authenticity shines as another guiding principle. Johnny's life reminds us that it's better to stumble honestly than to succeed pretending to be someone else. He showed the world that vulnerability is strength, that embracing your flaws can create beauty, and that staying true to yourself even in the face of doubt leaves a mark far greater than any award or accolade ever could. Passion, too, remains at the heart of his story. Music, acting, and creativity have been his compass, guiding him through storms and triumphs alike. Johnny reminds us that following what you love, rather than what the world expects, is what transforms a life into a legend. And perhaps the most profound lesson of all is that greatness is not about perfection, but persistence, courage, and the willingness to take risks. Johnny Depp didn't achieve immortality because he played it safe. He achieved it because he dared to live fully, to feel deeply, and to create without compromise. As we reflect on Johnny's journey, one truth emerges: life is an unscripted adventure. The compass to navigate it lies in courage, individuality, and authenticity. Johnny Depp's story is a beacon for all of us, a call to embrace our own unique paths, to dare boldly, and to leave the world a little brighter simply by being unapologetically ourselves. The legend lives on. Johnny Depp's story is far more than the sum of his films, accolades, or red carpet moments. It is the journey of a boy from Kentucky who dared to dream bigger than his circumstances, a man who refused to compromise his soul for fame, and an artist who turned life's pain into unforgettable performances. From the broken homes of his childhood to the staggering highs of superstardom, Johnny's life is a testament to courage, resilience, and the power of living authentically. He teaches us that true artistry comes from embracing imperfection. In every character, whether it was the melancholy Edward Scissorhands, the whimsical Captain Jack Sparrow, or the darkly poetic Sweeney Todd, Johnny revealed a piece of himself. He reminded the world that vulnerability is strength. That depth comes from embracing one's humanity, and that creativity thrives when you dare to be different. His life is also a lesson in persistence. Johnny faced public scrutiny, personal battles, and professional setbacks that could have ended lesser careers. Yet he pushed forward, fueled by passion, guided by intuition, and anchored in a belief that the journey itself matters more than any destination. He showed us that obstacles are not roadblocks, but opportunities, mirrors reflecting our inner strength and resilience. Beyond the fame and the film reels, Johnny Depp's human story inspires even more. He loved fiercely, felt deeply, and lived courageously, reminding us that the essence of a life well lived is connection, authenticity, and daring to embrace your own truth. He demonstrates that greatness isn't handed out, it is forged through choices, risks, and the relentless pursuit of one's vision. As his legacy continues to grow, it is clear that Johnny Depp is more than a cinematic icon. He is a symbol of individuality, a guide for those who dare to dream differently, and a living testament to the beauty of a life lived without compromise. His story encourages each of us to look inside ourselves, to honor our uniqueness, and to chase our passions, even when the path is uncertain. And so, as the curtain falls on this chapter of his journey, the lesson remains: live boldly, stay true to your heart, and never fear the unconventional. Johnny Depp's life reminds us that legends aren't created by fame. They are created by courage, authenticity, and the audacity to embrace the extraordinary within the ordinary. In the story of Johnny Depp, the legend truly lives on.